Donald Trump is running this country like a business. That's why he's trying to be a dictator. You see, the traditional business is structured like this, with the CEO on top as the dictator and everyone else taking marching orders. My first job ever was in 2019 when I was 17. It was at Krispy Kreme. I didn't get to vote for a new CEO every 4 years. I didn't get to protest when I didn't like the conditions at work. I didn't have a representative on the board of Krispy Kreme who I could just call up if I wanted them to represent me better. There was no Congress of Krispy Kreme. There was no Supreme Court of Krispy Kreme. There was no Constitution of Krispy Kreme. I would just show up and work. I would just do what I was told. I didn't even know who the CEO of Krispy Kreme was, and that shows you how connected or how not connected I was to my workplace. Donald Trump, aka President Business himself, is trying to do the same thing to our country. For example, when he lost to Joe Biden in 2020, Trump was like, "What do you mean I lost? What do you mean they're voting me out? I'm staying." No, he doesn't respect democracy because he's a CEO. Recently, as you may know, Trump did a federal funding freeze. And it's like, you can't just do that. Congress already passed the budget and Biden already signed it. So the new president can't just come in and yank it back. The new president can't just come in and cancel it. That's illegal. But Trump is acting like the boss, so he thinks he can do anything. The Trump administration thinks they can just inspect the money because it's going to advance Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering. And now think back to your workplace. If you work at a place that does not have a union, if you protest, what's going to happen? And so in 2020, when everyone was protesting, Trump was like, let's declare martial law. Why can't we just shoot the protesters? When the looting starts, the shooting starts. And I don't think I can show my face back at my old Krispy Kreme because I think they hate me. All of the bosses were being abusive to us workers, so I exposed them to HR. I organized a meeting with HR and was like, this is what they did to us. This, and this. I quit. But that's all I could do. An HR meeting. And HR was friends with the bosses. And there was no union. So if we protested, we were out. And Trump also wants to punish flag burning with 1 year in jail, even though there was a Supreme Court case on it and it was ruled unconstitutional. President Business is like, Constitution? What is that? Who cares? They say it's unconstitutional. Well, make it not unconstitutional.
They say it's unconstitutional. Well, make it not unconstitutional. You burn our American flag, you should get immediately mandatory 1 year in jail.
Vladimir Putin and President Xi do it.
And all over the world, Putin and President Xi of China, all over the world, they're watching.
Kim Jong-un does it.
There's Kim Jong-un. He looks at us like we're a bunch of babies. They see that. That wouldn't happen in their countries. It's impossible for that to happen in their country.
And I'm like, yeah, I don't want our country to be like North Korea. I thought we were the land of the free. Conservatives don't believe in freedom, but I do. And so clearly, Mr. Trump has an affinity for dictators. He wants to be just like them because it feels like home. And think about the media too. When you start at a new job, on training day, they have all these propaganda videos they show you. Those videos that tell you not to unionize. Trump does the same thing. He spreads his own propaganda. If any outside sources dare criticize him, fake news. And for the record, I have a lot of criticisms of corporate media. Like, they serve their advertisers. That's why they did everything they could to take down Bernie Sanders, from not airing him to framing his ideas in the worst way possible. Corporate media took down Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders threatens their advertisers. Like, there was a famous moment in one of the Democratic debates where CNN's Jake Tapper frames a question like, are you with Bernie on Medicare for All when it comes to raising taxes for middle-class Americans? Right, the premise of that question is not the full picture. Yes, it would raise taxes for middle-class Americans, but private insurance premiums and co-payments would be gone, so net costs would go down. And then Bernie calls that out and he's like, that is a Republican talking point. And by the way, the for-profit health insurance industry will be advertising tonight on this program. And then Jake Tapper's like, your time is up. And then Bernie's like, can I finish? And you're going to hear that talking point from the for-profit health insurance industry.
Are you also, quote, with Bernie on Medicare for All when it comes to raising taxes on middle-class Americans to pay for it?
Giant corporations and billionaires are going to pay more. Middle-class families are going to pay less out of pocket for their health care.
What I am talking about, and others up here are talking about, is no deductibles and no co-payments. And Jake, your question is a Republican talking point. At the end of the day, and by the way, the healthcare industry will be advertising tonight on this program.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Warren, it's your turn.
Oh, can I complete that, please?
Your time is up,
They
30
will be
seconds.
advertising tonight with that talking point.
Advertising tonight with that talking point. Sanders was not wrong. The drug industry was running this ad. My wife and I saw this ad, and we were like, what the hell?
Plans.
That's the criticism I have of the media. Trump does not make that criticism. He just calls them fake news, and then he spreads faker news. Trump doesn't just frame things in a dishonest way like corporate media does. He straight up fabricates information. He was on Truth Social going after the trans boxer who, come to find out, isn't even trans. And I also made this video regarding the TikTok ban. A lot of businesses will create the problem and then sell the solution. This is something that I realized last year, and it really helped me understand the world. I'm being reminded of it now because of the TikTok ban. It's the oldest trick in the book. The example we all know is Apple. Apple would be like, buy our new wireless headphones, buy our new dongles, so you can listen to music on your devices. And we're all just like, who removed the headphone jack? Self-help gurus on the internet will be like, consume all my content, buy my course, join my pyramid scheme, become one of my disciples, and I will cure your insecurities. And I'm just like, who's creating the insecurities? Weapons manufacturers like Raytheon, Boeing, and Halliburton, aka the military-industrial complex, will be like, we need to go to war on the other side of the planet to stop terrorism. Who created the terrorists? Now, here we are with the TikTok ban. The platform went down, and now it's back up. Guys, just watch. I guarantee you, tomorrow on Inauguration Day, President Business himself will proclaim to the American people, I am the savior of TikTok. And when that happens, we all need to stop and ask each other, who pioneered the TikTok ban? But yeah, I could probably sit here and think of more comparisons, but I hope you guys get the point. Oh my gosh, and I just remembered, like, he literally is just selling the country. Like, he posted, any company that invests more than however many dollars into the United States will not get regulated by the EPA. Get ready to rock and roll. And he just sells himself to billionaires, right? In business, that's called selling. In politics, that's called corruption. And so, all in all, Donald Trump's supporters sent him to the White House on the hope that he would run this country like a business. That is exactly what he's doing. And that's the problem. I saw Jake Paul on a podcast saying, the United States needs to be run by businessmen. That is the solution to all our problems. And I'm like, no, that is the problem. That is the main problem of American politics. It has been since the beginning of America, since the Gilded Age. Like, did you know? Okay, I'm sorry. Right, people say, oh, why are there people living on the streets while we go to war on the other side of the world? And it's like, well, the businessmen for the weapons manufacturers buy off politicians and they build relationships with politicians. They heavily influence the government. And so we go to war because that helps these businessmen who work for these weapons manufacturing companies. So Jake Paul, businessmen running the government is not the solution. It is the problem. We need to get them out of politics, and we need to get their money out of politics. And what's concerning to me is that now we are at the point where we are crossing the line from businessmen just influencing politics to businessmen running politics. You have Donald Trump, president business, his sidekick, Elon Musk, the richest person in the world, and J.D. Vance, who was selected by the Silicon Valley elite, the Silicon Valley oligarchs. And he had the heads of all of the richest companies in the world lined up at his inauguration in front of his own cabinet. So it's literally capitalism final boss. The lines in the sand have never been more clear. I learned in a political science class that there's no separate economic sphere and political sphere. They are one because the economic actors are the political actors. So what happens in the economy will spill over into the political arena, right? So if there is dictatorship in the economy, there is inevitably going to be dictatorship in politics. And so I think the solution to all of this is to have workplace democracy. Workers should be able to vote for their own conditions. They should be able to vote for their CEO, for all their managers, for their supervisors, for their bosses, and each worker should have a share of the company. That way, they will feel more connected to their workplace. They will not just feel like a cog in the machine. They will feel more fulfilled, and they'll be more motivated to work because they'll be actually getting the money from their work. I told this to my roommate who was more moderate and conservative, and he was like, that sounds like a great idea. And so if everyone's on the same class, if everyone's an owner, then we won't be in the situation where there's one class on top with all the power that controls all the levers of power and uses it to decimate 99% of us, right? Because the way the system works now is the 99% works for the 1%. So the more money they have, the less money we have. In general, the more they win, the more we lose. We need this to happen, and I wish the Democratic Party would have ran on this. I wish they would have said, you know how oppressed you feel at work? Donald Trump wants to extend that to your personal life. But the Democrats are owned by corporations too. Not all of them, but most of them. So do not run into the arms of any corporate Democrat. They are part of the problem, and they are the cause of this Trump problem we're all in right now. Their policies made Trump appealing, and they conspired to take down Bernie Sanders, who would have defeated Trump and his ideology. If we want to defeat authoritarianism once and for all, we need someone who is not bought and owned by these dictatorships. We need someone who is owned by us, the people. And so we need a populist progressive in the White House. We need the next Bernie Sanders. I don't know who that is, but I just hope they're on the horizon.